Okay, so having an original character literally isn't anything new at this point. I'm pretty sure everyone has had one, or at least like most of the people watching this video anyway, and I've definitely had my fair share of them over the years. Even though I've been drawing since I managed to get my grubby little hands onto a pencil, and you could technically consider my first ever OC to be something like this.
It's not scary monsters, these are just my friends. The names are Ali, Zinzo, and Tanga.
I like to think the first time I ever really sat down and tried to write a story with my own original concepts and characters and stuff was when I was around 11 years old. Mind you, I was this nerdy kid who had just finished the first season of My Hero Academia on YouTube back when people would upload the full episodes on there in a tiny square in the corner. And I like stuff like Harry Potter and superheroes, and that is so clearly reflected in this whole thing. I remember sitting in my room while drawing this rubbish nonsense comic on white printer paper with nothing but a pen, and when I got my first markers, one of my first marker sets, I spent hours, literally hours, drawing each character that I had made to hang up them on the wall over my bed. I still have all of that art. Like, I literally have some of it in my table right now for this video, and it means a lot to me, even though it's the cringiest thing I've ever made. The point of this video is to revisit the silly stuff I used to make for fun again, and see what's changed after, like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years. I realized I have been making stories, and I still am, and I kind of lost a little bit of that childhood whimsy that came with the original kind of stories that I would come up with. So I kind of wanted to go back to that for fun. So this story doesn't have much plot, but the general gist of it is we live in a world with superheroes, and our main characters have these super cool powers, and they're going to a school to become heroes. This is B, or Abigail, but B for short. She's the main character of this whole little story that I made up, and she's the biggest Mary Sue of all time. Like, she's literally the biggest Mary Sue I've ever had. You can tell in her design, it's so clear. She's got everything. She's got dead parents, a creepy power, mysterious scar, everything. This is Jackie, who in the story is like her best friend, who like is kind of an anti-hero style character. She was always meant to be this very tragic character, and they're just friends. There's definitely absolutely no queer undertones between the two of them that I was definitely unaware of as a small, very closeted, very unaware 12-year-old. You'll also see their skin tones kind of change and everything like throughout the character designs, because at the time I only had like 2 skin tone markers. This is Scott. He sucks in every iteration of himself. He will always be a jerk. He was one of the love interests for being as like the kind of like the guy who's very good in class, but he's a jerk, and oh, she doesn't like him, but she does. Oh god. Can you tell I've watched a lot of anime? But anyway, his power was cool, but like, oh my god. Yeah, he could manipulate time. This is Ivy, who I have always loved quite a lot, and like their redesign isn't exactly my favorite, which is disappointing because like I really wanted to do them justice and I don't think I did. But Ivy is basically like B's roommate, like they're friends, you know? And Ivy has their own little story. They're kind of like this just very sweet, wholesome character, but they also have the equivalent of 2 yawns of screen time in the whole story, because I forgot about them like midway through while I was making the comic. But yeah, I love them. They're very cute. Now, okay, listen. I technically cheated a little bit. I know. I decided to use the original characters I made for a different story called Oculus. But listen, okay, it's an extension of what I wrote when I was 12. That story is like the natural evolution of that, you know? So it's not really cheating, but you'll definitely see that these characters have changed a lot, mainly because I either merged them with characters I had written back then, or I just completely rewrote the character. So first of all, I'm starting with B, who now goes by June, and they have changed drastically. I really wanted to focus on all the main characters kind of almost being like their own main characters in their own right, and not there being one special one. So June, we see everything through June's eyes, but she's still just as much of the main character as the rest of them, you know? So June is this spunky, maybe like 19-year-old who comes from somewhere called the Old World. And Old World is basically a massive city, right? It's a nation basically under another nation that was built on top of it, right? So all the rich people live in luxury, in fresh air, while people like June stay under in this old world, and they work as primarily miners because, you know, that's where they find most of the sources that keep people alive. So June is arrested because she's a bit of an artist, and she ends up in something called the Reformation program, which is, it's still kind of like the concept of a superhero school, but it's more like a soldier making school for elite people. This is during this like kind of dictatorship, because Old World and New World, well, New World is ruled by a guy called Cryas, and he's not a very nice person. June basically has no choice but to join the ranks, right? Because she's either going to get executed or she has to work for them because she's a felon. Also, the things that she has committed are like nowhere near worth execution, so she's kind of annoyed by that. If you noticed, I really struggled with, like, first of all, her pose, but also her clothes. I really wanted a Adora from She-Ra feel with the jacket, but I also kind of wanted a Vi look from Arcane, obviously keeping June's iconic like bright orange hair. Her powers are really cool. Originally, she was going to be able to manipulate energy, all sorts of energies with runes, but I thought that was like way too overpowered. So I decided to make it so that she can only manipulate like fire and stuff like that. So yeah, that's June.
We having dinner here or going out?
What? Yeah. Why wouldn't I be?
I know that. Why would it be?
I remember how scared I was. You're not. This is how it happened. I don't want to hear what that bigot has to say. You can't stop this.
How long have you known? Well, you're a burden now, aren't you?
So next up we have Scott, whose design was honestly the closest to his original concept, because honestly, Scott is just a jerk in every version, and you can tell. So his power is still related to time manipulation, but he's an oracle more than like someone who can jump through time. He works as a student, right, who is from New World, right? Like you can see it in his clothes. He's very preppy. He's very like reserved, and he is one of the top students in his class. So he is assigned June as an apprentice because that's what the Reformation program is. It's kind of like in the Hunger Games when Snow has to like train Lucy Gray to go into the Hunger Games. It's a little bit like that, but he's basically training June to become like a mega soldier for Cryas' army, and he doesn't even know it. His character is quite stubborn, and he's been stubborn since the beginning, but the main point of his character is he's meant to be redeemable. He redeems himself quite soon and becomes friends with everyone. But before that, he's just a snobby little rich boy.
Let me start by saying nobody takes notes on anything that's said in these meetings. Please make yourselves comfortable. Kira is childish and he hates losing. Well, I'm also childish and I hate to lose. That's how I know.
This is an outrage. Taking advantage of this situation is unforgivable. I will find whoever is responsible for that.
Eva's the younger sister of one of the most powerful gifted in this story, Alma, who works alongside with Cryas, making Eva a pretty important character. She's basically almost royalty, and she doesn't exactly fit in the same class as Scott, but she's there mainly because of her sister's business there. She's quite timid, and her power is reflective of that. It is the ability to manipulate shadows and turn them into physical object. She's usually quite defensive when she's using her power. She's not really interested in hand-to-hand combat. She's only interested in protecting herself. And sometimes that's subconscious. Like a lot of the times there will be something there to protect her just in case. Her character was always meant to be almost like a love interest for June, because she kind of comes from two other characters that I had, including Jackie, in these previous stories, who were always this kind of like timid and shy rival, but also kind of like a sad love interest. You know, she doesn't like going out of her shell. She doesn't really like talking to people because she's really socially anxious, and you know, it's difficult for her to talk to people. On the topic of like powers as well, I want to explain that the magic system in this is almost like witches more than superheroes. These people are given gifts by gods, for example. Not everyone has a gift. Every person who has a gift has something called a key, which basically replaces their heart. And in Eva's case, for example, it strains on her body, leaving her weak and unable to fight, which is why it's such a defensive gift. The main objective of it is to protect, and that is it. It's not going to try and do anything more. June has a similar gift in the sense that she can't use it the same way as everybody else. I kind of wanted most of the characters to have something that made them different from other gift users. But yeah, this is Eva.
Excuse me, Lord Prime. It's good to see a familiar face. So, what would you be doing if you were back on Etheria right now and not, you know, a prisoner on an alien ship?
Sleepovers, me and Adora, when we were cadets in the Horde.
Stay up all night whispering about, you know, whatever.
Clover comes from Ivy, and I decided to rename them because I just really like the name Clover, and I renamed them Clover ages ago. I even have a video on my channel where I redrew them and their name was Clover. I'm not very happy with their design. I kind of realized while editing this video that I would prefer for them to have a little bit more of a showman style outfit, like a little bit more performative than relaxed, even though their character is quite sweet and chill, mainly because of the way that their gift works. Clover is the only character who isn't actually gifted. Like I was explaining earlier, people have keys, and in this story, if you die, your key doesn't disappear, so people can sell it. Keys can basically make really, really powerful weapons, and if they get into the wrong hands, well, you know, bad things happen. Clover is the guardian of one of the most powerful keys in their nation. They're not from Old World or New World, they're from another nation, but they are basically the protector of this key. Now, they can use a key the way a normal gifted would, except it doesn't strain on their body. Although, if, as you can tell, they have like bright green hair and stuff, and that's mainly because if they're with the key long enough, they will create a bond with it, and this person has obviously been connected to this key since they were a kid, so that's why their hair is like that. If you were to take it away and cut their hair, it wouldn't grow back the same way. Clover is this really sweet character, and they're actually the guardian, I guess. Their apprentice is Mateo, who's up next, who's in the same situation as June. So Clover and Scott are the best in their class, and they hate each other's guts. Scott hates Clover mainly because Clover is just objectively better at using their gift than him, and they aren't even gifted. And Clover doesn't like Scott because Scott is a jerk. So yeah, I kind of wanted Clover to be the representative of how each character doesn't necessarily fit into the expectation of what their gift should be. Clover isn't gifted, but yet they're one of the most talented at using these powers.
Do I have to be on camera? I am honored to work with Emperor Belos in preparation for the day of Unilee. Oh no, this is going all wrong. Get me out of here! I found people who wanted to change things.
In the original story, Mateo's gift was always meant to be blood manipulation, and it still is technically, but it's more related to the core functions of the body. He can basically heal people, which gets kind of blurred because a lot of people just assume that he has a very violent gift because of where he comes from, which is similar with June. Even though she uses fire, which is quite destructive, most people just kind of assume that if you're a gifted person from the old world, you're not going to be using your powers for good, which is the complete opposite of what Mateo does. Mateo is a character who finds himself in a very similar situation to June. He's also an old world citizen, and he was wrongfully accused of a certain crime that he actually did not commit while June did, and his only other option was the reformation program. He was chosen by Clover mainly because he was quiet and his gift was actually really interesting. He's really annoyed most of the time because he just hates how he's being forced to do all of this junk, but he's actually a really sweet character.
Yeah, that'll come in handy when the Galra challenges Voltron to a soccer match. Hey, Lance! I got your lion back. Okay, look. It's bad enough that Allura hates me now. Can you just lay off?
I hope you enjoyed this mess of a video. I noticed like halfway through I definitely need to try buying a mic. I didn't realize that I would be making videos more recently, but after my sketchbook tour did so well, I kind of got this urge to make more videos, so definitely expect more from me in the coming months. I am starting uni in September, so we'll see how busy I am with that, but I'll probably make videos about it as well. Yeah, thank you so much for all the love and amazing things that you've said to me in the comments in my last video. It literally meant the world to me because I had such horrible art block before and I was so nervous about posting that video for some reason. So yeah, thank you so much. And also we reached 3k subscribers. We're almost at 4 and it's crazy. So yeah, thank you so much and I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye!